Back out onto the campaign trail, the beat goes on. It seems like daily here as some politician is hitting the campaign stage. Well, Trump keeps dancing as artists are getting outraged over his use of their songs at some of his rallies.
And have you seen some of his dance moves?
Oh,
I
yeah.
like them. He's got some moves. It's kind of funny to
For
watch.
an 80-year-old, yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, and John Rizvi, the patent professor, joined us this week to talk about the legality of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easily dozens of artists, Phil Collins, Elton John, Guns N' Roses, Prince. I mean, the list goes on. It's not, before we think that this is something peculiar to Donald Trump, this is fairly common on campaign rallies for songs to be used, unfortunately, without the politician getting artists permission or licensing. So, George Bush has faced the same thing. Obama was sent a cease and desist by Sam Moore for the song "Hold On, I'm Coming." Sarah Palin. So this is not something new. Bruce Springsteen famously opposed Ronald Reagan using "Born in the USA." So. Campaign rallies are perfect venues for music. It's just the politicians have not been going out of their way to obtain proper licenses. I have, partly because this is my theory is that most of the time they're not going to be given permission. So it's almost one of these instances where it's easier to ask for forgiveness afterwards than permission in advance, and it almost looks worse to ask for permission, get denied, and then use the music anyway. So most of them have been going the route of using the music, getting a cease and desist, and then stopping. And if they don't get the cease and desist, they just continue until they do.
And what are the copyright laws as of right now? Is it illegal to play these songs? And I'm sure it's different playing it at one of these rallies versus publishing it on social media as like through a campaign ad and such. What are the different copyright laws between the two? Yeah,
so, and that's what's troubling a lot of people is that how can something be illegal and still be so common? It's not permissible. There are exceptions to copyright law for fair use, but typically political campaigns and rallies have not been considered fair use for use of an artist's music. There's multiple reasons for that. One of them is not just a financial impact on the artist of loss of the licensing fees, but the artists have to go out publicly and make it well known that they are not permitting use of their music. Otherwise, they get associated with a politician that they don't want to be associated with.
Yeah, most political candidates, they have two things. They've got money and they have lawyers. So I wonder if that has a lot to do with, if you're running for the presidency, you're probably like, okay, whatever, come after me. I'll deal with that later. I've got a presidency to win. It's just like kind of small potatoes for them.
Yeah, and it's one of these things that the licensing fees really are pennies in the grand scheme of things for a particular rally. So it's not a tremendous amount of money in terms of the campaign, and they're probably looking at it in terms of, ultimately if this ends up, it's just a cost of running the campaign if we end up having to pay. So that's why it's so common.
All right, John Rizvi, the patent professor, thanks for joining us here on DFW's Morning News.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.